Hello, everybody, and welcome to the College Football Show, the final episode of this season, the Year in Review episode. A lot to cover. We're going to look at the best moments of this season, the Heisman race that went on this year, the best upsets, great playoff moments. We might look into a bit of next season, preview that. We're going to talk about the conference championship games that happened, the great rivalry week we saw, crazy coaching carousel, all of that. Indiana's incredible season, Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt's incredible run. It's going to be a great episode filled with a lot of content. I hope you enjoy this video. But yeah, the 2025-2026 college football season, 12th season of the college football playoff, second season of the 12-team college football playoff. It was great. But quick thing, looking into our trivia question for the day. Unfortunately, not a college football one, but Monday, January 26th, 2026, The category is team history, It is which former Jaguar starting quarterback served as Patrick Mahomes' backup on the Chiefs in 2023? Was it A, Nick Foles, B, Blaine Gabbert, C, Colin Kaepernick, D, Matthew Stafford, or E, Tom Brady? I shall repeat it again. Category is team history. Which former Jaguar starting quarterback served as Patrick Mahomes' backup on the Chiefs in 2023? A, Nick Foles, B, Blaine Gabbert, C, Colin Kaepernick, D, Matthew Stafford, or E, Tom Brady? Put your answer in the comments. I will answer it at the end of the show. But today's football birthdays are Jack Youngblood, Henry Jordan, Mente Teo. It's M-A-N-T-I-A, and then the last name is T-E-O. And then Merle Hodge, I think. And then today is Australia Day, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what it says on there. But yeah, great college football season. Wonderful college football season. And, it has been confirmed 12-team playoff will be staying put for next season, but there are two changes, because there were some changes this year. Instead of the 4 highest-ranked conference champions getting a bye, it was just the 4 highest-ranked teams, but the 5 highest-ranked conference champions automatically get in. But then this year they changed. If Notre Dame is ranked into the top 12, they automatically make the playoffs next season. And then also next season, it's not going to be the 5 highest-ranked conference champions exactly. The 4 Power 4 conference champions automatically make it. We already thought that was pretty much what it was going to be, but Duke got left out as the ACC champion because they only went 8-5, 7-5 in the regular season. So Tulane and James Madison were higher ranked. I agree with that. That's a good change. We needed that to change, considering, James Madison did not deserve to be in. And so, yeah. So, if you're a Duke fan, you're like, okay, it's because of us, the rules have changed, but I wish they would have changed a year earlier, because then we would have made the playoffs. I think Duke would have put up a better fight than James Madison against Oregon, but not a great fight. But let's start out the best upsets that we saw. There were so many great upsets. I think we could all agree on that. We saw some great ones right away in week 1 is when it all started. You saw 8th ranked Alabama, fresh off of a frustrating season. They missed out on the playoffs, went 9-4, lost their bowl game to Michigan. It was frustrating, It was super frustrating stuff. So then what do? They go out there in Tallahassee. I picked against the Crimson Tide. I was feeling, hey, it's in Tallahassee. Florida State's going to be bumping. And boom, 31-17. The Florida State Seminoles look absolutely brilliant. And that's when we thought, oh, are they a contender? Zooming all the way to week 5, Friday night. They're going to Virginia. Virginia's 3-1. Florida State's 3-0. They're ranked 8th in the country, Florida State. And what happens there is I bet against Florida State. 46-38 double overtime. The Virginia Cavaliers win. Granted, their 2-point conversion was controversial, considering Tony Elliott thought that they only had to kick an extra point. Florida State was stunned. That didn't go on to look like an upset. Florida State finishes 5-7, But yeah. But after that loss for Alabama, Kalen DeBoer was on the hot seat. It was like, is Bama going to be bad? They did make the playoffs, though, Alabama. Some other great upsets. Week 2, we saw actually a lot of upsets. You saw SMU host Baylor. Baylor had already lost to Auburn. That kind of killed their season or hurt them a lot. They go in, win 48-45, I think, in like double overtime. SMU gets upset. And then we also saw Florida. I was really high on them. A lot of people were. They're ranked 13th. South Florida upsets them 18-16 on a walk-off field goal to end the game. We also saw Mississippi State, the Cowbells, go crazy and stun Arizona State and storm the field. That was a great moment. There was that other great Friday night moment. Miami hosting Louisville. I actually also picked against Miami in that game. And wow, Louisville came out. I can't remember the score. I think it was 24-21. Not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure it was 24-21. That was an absolutely insane game. Carson Beck throws 4 picks. Miami was in field goal range, but they kept on going. Beck throws his 4th pick. Game losing. And then later on in the year, like 2 or 3 weeks later, Miami goes to SMU. They're 6-1 now. If they lose this game, it's like, could season be over? 23-17, I think, was the final score. Carson Beck picked at the goal line in, I think, the first overtime or maybe second overtime. And Miami loses the game. Absolute frustration. And we thought that they weren't going to make the college football playoff. And then there we go. They went to the Natty and nearly won it. So that was another great upset. I mean, there were a lot of great upsets this season. Some other ones were, Indiana beating Oregon was someone an upset. But Florida, who insanely disappointing team, they upset a 9th-ranked Texas in the Swamp. I think it was, what was it, 28-20, I think it was, or around there. Florida got an absolutely insane win. Texas, that was their second loss of the season, really killed their CFP hopes. That was frustrating for them, 1,000%. I mean, what a great moment. For Florida, even though it was a terrible year, but that was a great moment. The absolutely insane back-to-back upset weeks for Penn State. They're ranked 7th. They were like, okay, we just lost to Oregon. We still can't beat top 10 teams. And then, boom. UCLA, who was 0-4, had a offensive coordinator who was like a first-time play caller, going against the highest-paid coordinator in the league, defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, who betrayed my Buckeyes, and he was terrible there, and boom. I mean, he said that he didn't even know how to work the headset, I'm pretty sure, and boom, he calls a great game. Nico Imaliva goes off, and the UCLA Bruins, absolutely stunned Penn State. That was an absolutely surreal moment. Then the next week, Franklin's final game in Penn State. I'm pretty sure it was homecoming. They were like, maybe we can still make playoffs, but we got to beat Ohio State, which is going to be really hard. Well, Drew Aller gets a season-ending injury, but it was on the second-to-last offensive snap that they had, but granted, it was 4th down the next down, so maybe they could win the game. But Northwestern won that game. I think it was 22-21. James Franklin then got fired, and it was a frustrating, absolutely insanely frustrating year for Penn State. Later on that year, we saw a near upset. Penn State nearly beats Indiana, who was ranked 2nd at the time. Indiana sat at ranked 2nd, And then Penn State was at home. The interim, Penn State's 3-5, 0-5 conference play. They're up 24-20 all of a sudden. They get a sack on the opening down. Beaver Stadium's going crazy. You can feel, are we finally going to get a top 10 win, even though it's in pointless fashion? Nope. The absolutely insane Omar Cooper catch on, I think it was 3rd and goal, gets Indiana to an incredible win. That was one of the best moments of the college football season. That Omar Cooper catch was probably the catch of the year. Another near upset, Oregon went to my Iowa Hawkeyes. I was like, okay, can we do it, Iowa? You take a 16-15 lead, you go for two, you get it, and no, they overturn it. And then a great throw by Donnie Moore gets Oregon into field goal range. Iowa lost in a rainy game. The frustration continued the next week for my Hawkeyes, nearly upsetting USC. They lost that game, though. But a lot of great upset games. We saw some other ones probably were, there were a lot of great ones, okay? And, Penn State getting upset, Texas getting upset. There were a lot of great ones, okay? And that's just what makes college football so great. When you look at the NBA, baseball, even the NFL, upsets don't matter as much. In college football, they matter a ton. How about in week 3? Clemson went to Georgia Tech. I was insanely high on Clemson, but I still thought going into the year that Tech could beat them, especially after they struggled against LSU, barely beat Troy. That really scared me, for Clemson. And then, boom, what a game it was. And walk-off field goal, Georgia Tech wins 24-21, goes on to not be an upset. Then Georgia Tech upset on their own against NC State. At home, NC State beat Georgia Tech. Just what a chaotic year in the ACC. Right? It was an incredibly crazy and chaotic year in the ACC, and I think we can all agree on it. It was absolutely crazy. Very few times, if ever, should a 7-5 team win your conference. It was insane. We thought it would be Tech. They kind of fall apart. We all thought it would be Clemson going into the year. They were absolutely garbage. So it was just such an interesting season. It was absolutely crazy. That season was absolutely insanity in the ACC. The Big 12 might have passed it. Speaking of the Big 12, how about Texas Tech? Their loss to Arizona State. They had their backup. That was their only regular season loss. Frustrating for Texas Tech. They lose in a close one. Arizona State had kind of a frustrating season, low-key. It was a frustrating season. Now let's get into most surprising, most disappointing teams. The surprising teams. Indiana was definitely surprising. They came in with hype. Okay. We can all agree on that. They were fresh off of a good season, but there was talk about it being a fluke. I thought it was a fluke. There was definitely that talk. They lost a lot of players, so it was like, okay. And they stunned everyone. I don't think anyone thought that they would go 16-0 national champions. I think no one thought that was going to happen. So that happened. And not only that, but they were shocking. Vanderbilt, despite losing to Iowa in the bowl game, they were a shocking team. No one expected them to be that good, except for maybe me. I had them 17th in my preseason rankings. I was insanely high on them. But that was great. And then, because they beat LSU, they lost to Texas and Alabama. But, they beat Missouri. They had a really good season. They went into Neyland and beat Tennessee by 21. That's a tall task to do. So they were very surprising. Virginia was surprising, although the tough ACC title game loss to Duke. That was an absolutely shocking season. Tulane and James Madison was probably a bit surprising because Tulane, there was a high chance for them to be that Group of 5 team. But James Madison, they were not expected, I don't think, to be that good. So they were a bit surprising. You saw Duke. They had a worse regular season than the prior season, but they were still surprising. I don't think anyone expected them to get to the point where they won the ACC, even though they got lucky by going 7-5 and somehow winning the ACC. So yeah, they got lucky there. But based on the current playoff format, the way they changed it, Duke would have made the college football playoff this season if they would have changed it a year earlier. Texas Tech, yeah, they were surprising. Hype around them. Gaining all those additions. I don't know if many people were thinking 12-1 Big 12 champions, although they got destroyed in the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. Cougs were a bit surprising. I mean, you lose Jake Retzloff. It's like, how's it going to go? That was like what everyone was thinking. Bear Bachmeier, I think he was a true freshman. He comes in, absolutely stuns everyone, gets the Cougs to the Big 12 title game where they unfortunately lose. Although Georgia Tech ended really rough, they were surprisingly that good, although they lost 4 of their last 5 games. Pittsburgh kind of came out, kind of stunned people, had a great season. So yeah, Ole Miss, I mean, last season was kind of viewed as what their season was going to be. They come in, shock everyone. Texas A&M and Oklahoma. There were a lot of SEC teams who were like, they're just going to be decent, and then they went to the college football playoff. That's Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas A&M. I don't think many people thought they would come out of the SEC as a college football playoff team. Disappointing teams. That is a long list. So, starting out, Texas. Okay, they were definitely one of the least disappointing teams. But they had Arch Manning, the preseason Heisman favorite. You're ranked first. You got off to a rough start. Then you got going, but you missed out on playoffs. You finished 10-3. Okay, 10-3. That's not that bad. Okay, yes. But they were expected to be a national title contender. If you are a preseason national championship favorite and you do not make playoffs, I would say, that is a failure of a season. That's just me. I would say if you're preseason up there in the national title race and you are not making a 12-team college football playoff, it was a failure. I think a lot of people are going to agree with me on that. But absolutely, I think that was disappointing. Penn State, obviously. I said in my preseason ranking show, they're probably going to be my natty pick. I've said this before. It's kind of weird that everybody, again, including me, thought that because they lost their best defensive player, Abdul Carter, and they lost their best offensive player, Tyler Warren. I mainly look at it, Jim Knowles. Great addition. Still have Drew Aller. I mean, still have both your running backs. I don't know if I knew that much, but still have both their running backs. That was a big reason. Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, I think is his name. But yeah, so that was, or his last name was Singleton, I'm pretty sure. But so that was definitely very surprising stuff. People were shocked. So yeah, this was kind of viewed as okay. You look at it. Michigan just got over the hump. Ohio State just got over the hump. Ohio State was known as a choker. They got over the hump. This is our time. Okay, this is our moment. Then that whiteout game at home, college game days there, Oregon's coming to town. You can feel it. You can feel the electricity. That's what Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I think, said on College Game Day once. Not on that show, but yeah. And not about Penn State, but still. And I don't think they did too good. They lost in double overtime. I think it was 30-24. Frustration. Then you're like, okay, cakewalk win against 0-4 UCLA. Oopsie daisies, we lost. We just lost. Okay, season's over. Maybe not. Okay, let's just lose to Northwestern at homecoming. Granted, Northwestern improved this year. Still, Northwestern's not that good. No offense, Northwestern fans. And then, of course, Penn State, it just got worse from there. You lose in Kinnick against my Hawkeyes. You lose to then, what team was it again? Another Big Ten team before Indiana, because I know they lost to Indiana, but they lost to, Ohio State, then Indiana. Then they got going, won their last 4 games, counting bowl games, including beating Clemson. Speaking of Clemson, but, they did lose Drew Aller, and firing James Franklin was a dumb move. But yeah, speaking of Clemson, I was high on them. Number 1 in my preseason rankings. Okay, number 1 in my preseason rankings. Cade Klubnik, preseason Heisman pick. I could feel it. Klubnik coming back. I don't know if I knew that they had the most returning guys, but they had the most returning guys, okay? It was insane. It was like, I don't know if I necessarily thought this, but a lot of people thought, this is it. I mean, Dabo's kind of falling off, but this feels like this is his last great chance to win a natty. Instead, it's like his worst season. 7-6, you lose to Penn State in your bowl game. Ouch, Clemson. You lose to LSU. Oh, well, that's an okay loss. LSU's great. I'll get to them in a tiny bit. Don't worry, LSU fans. I've got some things to say about your team. And then when I really got concerned about them was against Troy. I was like, you guys just nearly lost to the Troy Trojans. Again, no offense to Troy fans, but Troy's not very good, okay? Clemson should be destroying them, and they were at home. The Georgia Tech loss wasn't too concerning. Syracuse loss was concerning, okay? Syracuse, granted, when they had Stephen Jelly, Syracuse was a lot better. That wasn't like the absolutely horrendous Syracuse team, but still, you gotta win that game. Then you kind of bounce back. Duke was a frustrating loss, and you lost to, I can't even remember the other team. But yeah, they went on to lose 5 games in the regular season. They did win their last 4 regular season games. The other loss was SMU. And then they lost to Penn State. And now, I'm hearing some stuff about this. Dabo Swinney finally went into the transfer portal and got some guy named like Luke Fier or something. And then Pete Golding and Ole Miss like cheated and tampered with him, supposedly. I think they're investigating into it. And now Dabo's mad. So it's like, I'm hearing people say Dabo finally goes into the transfer portal, and what does he get? He recruits a guy, he gets enrolled into the school, and then he gets tampered with, and Pete Golding and Ole Miss like cheat, allegedly, not 100% yet, I'm pretty sure. And now he's not on my team. It's like, okay, I tried the transfer portal, and this is how you guys repay me. Wow. Me finally trying the new thing, and I get repaid with losing him and with someone cheating. I mean, he's gonna be like, okay, I'm out of this transfer portal stuff. So yeah, he's gonna be like, okay, maybe not. Now to LSU. Ole Miss fans, LSU fans gotta get to you. Having all the hype. Lee Corso's preseason national championship game pick. Right? Yes. He had them over Penn State. I kind of feel bad for Lee Corso because both those coaches got fired. You go on the road to beat Clemson. Garrett Nussmeier doesn't look right, but plays a lot better than Cade Klubnik. You have a lot of faith in your defense now, although Cade Klubnik was trash, but we don't know that yet, okay? At that point, we don't know. So it's like, LSU's the real deal. I was insanely skeptic about them as soon as they only beat Louisiana Tech 23-7. That scared me, okay? That really scared me. I was like, what? You only beat Louisiana Tech by 16 points. Then you beat Florida. Lagway throws 5 picks. Lagway was trash that season. Excuse me again. Super high on DJ Lagway. Excuse me, but yeah. And then you beat, like, Southeastern Louisiana. Not an FBS school. Okay? Or I think that's who it was. But so you're 4-0, but again, the most amount of points LSU scored in the regular season against an FBS opponent was 25 points. He was 35 points after the Houston game where they lost, but still. So now you're like, okay, we're 4-0, ranked 4th. All this hype, this is our year. You go into Ole Miss and lose. Ole Miss had a great season, but you're like, okay. Then you're sluggish against South Carolina. Oh, wait, but wasn't South Carolina supposed to be really good? Well, they weren't. So now you're like, okay, where do we go from here? Excuse me. Where do we go from here? So yeah, then you lose to Vanderbilt, and somewhat an upset. Vanderbilt, I think, was actually favored, but still. So you're like, oh no, Then you're up at halftime at home to Texas A&M. You can feel we can get back into the CFP race. Not only do you blow, I think that 4-point halftime lead, but you get smoked like 49-25. That was most amount of points they scored in the regular season. Brian Kelly's then fired. I don't think Aaron Nussmeier plays again that year. The team finishes 7-5, loses in their bowl game 7-6. I will say, LSU fans, I never understood the Aaron Nussmeier hype. He came in, didn't have that good season. His first season, Ole Miss didn't make the playoffs, had a disappointing season. He comes back and it's like, okay. And there's all this hype and he's again not good. I wouldn't feel too bad about that. But yeah, seems like Brian Kelly never understood LSU football. That's what it sounds like. He only kind of understood himself and what he wanted. He didn't really focus on LSU. He didn't know what Louisiana football meant, is what I'm hearing. But you have Sam Leavitt now, who's a great quarterback. And then the big thing, Lane Kiffin. Apparently, I think I read something that said, like, he already, like the title of an article saying that, like, he already understands the Louisiana fan base more than Brian Kelly did. And Brian Kelly was there for, like, 4 years while he's been there for, like, 2 months. But, wow. Okay, Lane Kiffin, he's going to come in there and transform the team. What you might have to worry about is if Alabama or Georgia ever comes open, he's going to walk out the door, okay? That would be unfortunate. I don't know if he would even do that, though. But you never know with Lane Kiffin. He's a crazy guy. But, so you have a lot of hope next season, LSU. I'm high on LSU. But yeah, insanely disappointing season. The South Carolina Gamecocks. Lenora Sellers, wonderful freshman season. So close to a CFP berth. If Lenora Sellers doesn't get injured in the LSU game, you're in. You almost beat Alabama. Like, the Alabama and LSU games were so close to being won. If you win one of those games, you're in the college football playoff. But you're like, okay, this year can be our year. Sellers just comes in. He's trash. You're off to a 2-0 start, though. Well, he wasn't that bad in the first 2 games. Then you get blown out to Vanderbilt in an upset that I forgot to mention. But yeah, Vanderbilt upset at 11th ranked South Carolina when they were unranked. It goes on to not be an upset. But that was an upset I forgot. So, yeah, I think it was 31-7. I forgot to touch on that upset. That was a great one. And Sellers got a concussion. But then he's back the next week. It's pretty good, but you lose to Missouri. Then you beat Kentucky. It's like, okay. Then you lose to LSU. Then you lose more games. I think the game we all remember. What was it? It was 31-3, I think it was, at halftime or something in the Texas A&M South Carolina game. People were like, what's going on? South Carolina has just gone on the road against, I think it was 3rd-ranked Texas A&M. And they are up, I think it was 31-3. It was like, what the heck is going on, guys? Like, what? Like, what? Well, don't get too concerned because Texas A&M lost the game. Oh, wait, no, it was 34-3, right? Or I actually can't remember what the score was at halftime. Because I know that they got, well, no, it was 30-3 at halftime. It was 30-3 at halftime, yeah. Yes, it was 30-3 at halftime. Then the Aggies stormed back. It was only a 6-1 game going in the 4th. Then they took the lead. But then they were about to score, and no, they mess up. So now it's like, so Texas A&M messed up. So then even after that terrible half where they got outscored 20-0, had a chance to get into game-winning field goal range. Nope. And the Aggies won that game. That was, you would think losing by 1 point on the road against the 3rd-ranked team in the country would not be the worst loss of their season because it was so disappointing. But it 1,000% was because they were up by 27 at halftime. Absolutely embarrassing stuff for South Carolina. I personally think maybe Shane Beamer should have been fired. You've got Lenora Sellers. Back. I was super high on Lenora Sellers, okay? I watched him destroy Vanderbilt last season, And I was high on him, okay? I was high on Lenora Sellers in so many ways. And so for him to go out there and, perform like that was disappointing, okay? He had frustrating year. Don't know his exact stats, but frustrating year. Absolutely frustrating. And the Gamecocks, I think, finished 5-7 or 4-8, I think it was, because that loss dropped them down to 3-7. Then they beat like Wofford or something, and then they lost at home to their rival Clemson. Battle of disappointing teams. Such frustration. I had them, I think, 9th in my preseason rankings. This is a team that wasn't as disappointing as those 4 other teams, but the Illinois Fighting Illini, I come in so high on them. I thought they would finish 11-1, lone loss at home against Ohio State, and I kind of thought that they might have a shot against Ohio State. Low key, I kind of thought that. I'm pretty sure, but nope is all I'm gonna say. On that matter. Is that they were a bad football team. Or they weren't terrible, but they beat Duke, which was nice, and they were 3-0, off to a good start. They're ranked 9th. Big game, I think, on the road. It was 20th ranked Indiana. I think that's when we all kind of knew, ooh, Indiana's a good team. Fernando Mendoza, I think, only had 2 incompletions on the day. I think like 21 from 23. He throws 5 touchdowns. And even though Illinois didn't age that great, Indiana beat Illinois 63-10. I think that's when everyone was like, is Indiana legit or is Illinois a pretender? I think it was somewhat both, but mostly Indiana was absolutely insane this season. I think it's mostly that. But I mean, absolutely crazy stuff. And I mean, absolutely insane that they lost that game 63-10. Then they upset USC. They stormed the field, which they kind of shouldn't have. But okay, on a walk-off field goal, I think it was 34-32. And they fumbled twice at the goal line, Illinois. I mean, it should have been a blowout, but they still won. And then they beat Purdue. Then they lose to Ohio State, lose to Washington. But then they get going. I think they're 7-3 until, they lose to, what was it? It wasn't Northwestern. It was, they get upset is the point. I think maybe Minnesota. The point is, they got upset. Maybe Northwestern it was. But then they beat their rival. No, because they beat Northwestern at the end of the season. I don't know who they got upset to. It was Wisconsin. They were ranked again. Wisconsin upset them. And then they beat Northwestern, still are unranked, but then went on a walk-off field goal in the Music City Bowl down here in Nashville. Or I don't live in Nashville, but I live in the Nashville, I'm in around the Nashville area. But I mean, yeah. So down here in Nashville, that happened, and Illinois got a huge win, absolutely huge win, and so a good way to close this season. Again, not a super disappointing team, 9-4, but I thought that they might go 11-1. I thought that this was a college football playoff contending team, and I think a lot of people had them as their dark horse, which if everyone has them as their dark horse, they weren't a dark horse. But yeah, absolutely, yeah. They were disappointing. Florida. They're preseason ranked 15th. I had them number 7 because, again, I've said this on the show. I was super high on DJ Lagway, okay? You beat LIU. Then, I mean, they knew South Florida was dangerous after South Florida beat Boise State by 27, and they still weren't prepared. They lose 18-16. Then DJ Lagway throws 5 picks as they lose by 10 against the one team, LSU, and then in Death Valley. Then they lose at Miami, where College Game Day weirdly was 26-7. DJ Lagway struggles, and then they lose, but then they upset Texas. Then they lose to Texas A&M. Then they beat Mississippi State because Jeff Lebby is throwing the football when they are in field goal range, only down by 2. So they won that game. Sorry, Billy Napier, he got fired even after a win. So Billy Napier was out, okay? The Billy Napier tenure was bad, okay? And I think that was a very reasonable firing. I'll get into that more once we get to the crazy coaching carousel section of today's episode. But absolutely, and then, Florida finished 5-7. They beat their rival Florida State again, but absolutely, insanely frustrating stuff for Florida. You kind of felt, is Florida back? Is the Gator Chomp back? No, it was not. It was just such a disappointing tenure. But dive into some of the best playoff moments of the season. We kicked it all off in Norman, Oklahoma on a nice Friday night, the last Friday before Christmas. And Oklahoma at home got after that. A great environment. It was in Norman. They get off to the 17-0 lead. Alabama fans are like, no. Well, 17-17 at halftime thanks to a John Mateer pick 6. And Bama would win the game. It was 34-24 in a great win. They had the 27-0 run. It was 27-17. Then Oklahoma scored, and then Alabama scored again. And Oklahoma was disappointed, of course. That was a great moment. I think it was tied actually the greatest comeback in college football playoff history. One of their team came back from down 17. But yeah, absolutely. Great way to start it. Then in College Station, game day was there too because it was also there for the game in Norman. It was great, and then it kind of all slipped away. Well, that was a defensive battle. First ever scoreless first half in college football playoff history, I'm pretty sure it was. It's 0-0, of course, but because that's what scoreless is. And then boom. Miami takes the lead. It's 3-0, then it's 3-3. Then Miami scores, but then the Aggies are on the move. Can they get into game-tying drive? It's 3rd and goal, and it's late, and it's behind him. I'm pretty sure that's why it got picked. Marcel Reed, game-sealing pick, So you're like, back-to-back great games. Miami upsets Texas A&M, in crazy College Station. That was a great college football playoff moment. And then after that, one more sip of water. My throat's kind of starting to hurt. I'm going to need to drink a lot of water because I'm expecting this show to go for a very good more amount of time, but we're only about 38 minutes in. I expect this to be an hour to 2 hour show. But, and then when we got into the games that kind of weren't expected to be good. Ole Miss blows out Tulane 41-10. Oregon blows out James Madison 51-34, but it was a bigger blowout. James Madison kind of got some garbage time points. I'm pretty sure. Excuse me. But after round 2, starting off Cotton Bowl on New Year's Eve, I didn't get to watch, or I didn't watch that game. But Miami, it sounds like they somewhat owned Ohio State. They got after the 14-0 lead. Ohio State made it 17-14, but then Miami scored. And Miami goes from going into College Station, stunning Texas A&M, to stunning the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Cotton Bowl. I think I picked Miami on my show, but on my original bracket, I had the Buckeyes winning the national championship. But yeah, great game, okay? And then all things considered, great game. But so Miami, it's like, oh my goodness, they won. And then you had kind of back-to-back playoff games on New Year's Day. Texas Tech can't get anything going. They get shut out 23-0 to Oregon. Oregon looks decisive. Great. They're off to the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Then Indiana, can they keep their magical season going? They obliterate Alabama 38-3. I'll dive into their season, later on in the show. And then after that, we had the best CFP game of the entire time. Ole Miss, Georgia. I think, it was like 12-7 Ole Miss. But then Georgia scored, and then they scored again. It was 21-12. Ole Miss tried to get a field goal before halftime, but ran out of time. But then Ole Miss scored, went to make it 21-19. Then they yeah, I think so. And then they scored again. Well, no. They won up 24-19, I remember they went up 24-19. But, well, I actually can't remember, okay? Terribly sorry, folks. But I remember the game was tied, okay? 34-34. I think Georgia got a touchdown or maybe a field goal. And it was like an overtime probably. Then Trinidad Chambliss has a deep, big gain. A field goal is made. Well, yeah, because Ole Miss, I think, took the lead. Yeah, Ole Miss took the lead. And then Georgia went for a fourth down in their own territory and got like strip sacked. And then, or it was at least a sack. And then Ole Miss got a touchdown. So they were up by 2 scores. Georgia came back. It was 34-34. And then, but then they hit that deep completion to make it, to take it into field goal range to make it 37-34. Then they get safety. It was like, game's over. Oh no, never mind. They have more time. And then it was like, oh no, there's more time. It was a super long ending. But Ole Miss won the game 39-34. That's the point. I'm kind of a bit confused on how we got there. But yeah, 39-34 was the score. And the Ole Miss Rebels absolutely stunned. I was shocked. That was the game I thought was least likely to go the other way of all my predictions. And yeah, I mean, Ole Miss, Pete Golding in just his second game as a head coach out-coached Kirby Smart. Then we saw in the Fiesta Bowl, Ole Miss play Miami. Classic game, 31-27. Carson Beck's game-winning rushing touchdown. There should have been a PI, honestly, on Trinidad Chambliss's last pass. That was incomplete, going to the end zone. Frustrating way to end for Pete Golding. And Indiana gets another blowout win, 56-22 over Oregon. You could feel that from the first snap from scrimmage, not kind of kickoff and all that, when Oregon got picked sixth. You could tell right from the get-go that it was going to be a long night for Oregon. So then that set up Oregon-Miami. It looked like the game was over. It was 24-21, Indiana Hoosiers. And they were like 1 yard away from a win. Instead, they full start. That cost them big time. And they're held to a field goal. Miami gets a shot. They get a roughing the passer call. Then Carson Beck hits a big play. Carson Beck airs it out there, I think, at about midfield. And he's intercepted. And the Indiana Hoosiers were your national champions, potentially the most shocking national champion in the CFP era, I would say. A look at this beloved season. They got after the 3-0 start, didn't play that many good teams. They could barely beat like Indiana State, only 27-14. I think it was Indiana State at least. And then, of course, we all knew after beating Illinois, it was going to be a special season. It was going to be a very, very, very special season after they obliterated Illinois 63-10. Then they go into Kinnick, survived by 5 points. Again, it was pretty much 20-13. I think they just ran out of the end zone and got safetied. I bet it was their punter to milk out more time. And then, of course, great game in Autzen Stadium, the huge win. Then they went into Beaver Stadium and won. They beat their rival Purdue, beat Ohio State for a Big Ten title, won the Rose Bowl over Alabama, beat Oregon twice. I mean, what can you ask for better? You beat your rival, you went undefeated, you won the Rose Bowl, you won the Natty, you won the Big Ten championship. I mean, other than Washington and Michigan was the only Big Ten powerhouse who they didn't play. And then they didn't play Washington, who's pretty good. And they didn't play USC, who's pretty good. But USC, they're a powerhouse, but not a Big Ten powerhouse, because they're a powerhouse from their Pac-12 days. But, I mean, absolutely, I mean, they beat Oregon twice, okay? Once on the road and once in a blowout in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. They even beat Alabama and Miami. They beat two incredible programs. I mean, if you beat Alabama, I don't care. It's not the Nick Saban day. That's impressive. And that's a great thing to be able to accomplish. So that was great. And then, I mean, there were so many wonderful moments. So many wonderful moments. They got to beat Miami, the U. They got to beat them. They beat Ohio State, which is always great. unfortunately, but that's a great thing. Illinois and Iowa were solid teams this year. They got to beat them. They didn't play Nebraska, but Nebraska wasn't that good. So just what an incredible run. Curt Cignetti. I think there's some rumors that he has like beef with Nick Saban. I don't think any of that's real, but absolutely insane. He can be the next Nick Saban. He's an older guy, but he can coach for another 10 years and win, honestly, 5 natties. I have a lot of belief. Josh Hoover from TCU, he's a solid quarterback right now, but that's what Fernando Mendoza was. He was only solid. He wasn't that good. And look what Curt Cignetti turned him into, a Heisman winner. He was the quarterback for a 16-0 national championship team because Alberto Mendoza, his little brother, transferred to Georgia Tech. Hopefully he can have success there. So it's just unreal stuff, what went on. This was the greatest run I think we've ever seen. I mean, in 2 years. If I would have told you 2 years ago from today, Indiana, they're going to win the Natty and go 16-0 and win the Big Ten. You would have been like, what? I mean, excuse me, like literally. And even a year ago today, you would have been like, the Indiana story was great, guy, but I'm not sure. Excuse me, because that's what I would have said. I would have even believed myself, well, definitely 2 years ago, and maybe even a year ago today. I don't know. I mean, this is just greatest turnaround in sports history. Not college football history, not football history, not college sports history. Sports in general history. Absolutely crazy that Indiana managed to do it. Absolutely insane that they managed to go on this insane run. Crazy coaching carousel. What a coaching carousel it was. Let me talk about it. How many first-year coaches are there going to be in the ACC? California has a new coach. Don't know who that is. But Stanford, Virginia Tech. I think three ACC schools are going to have new head coaches. Big Ten, you've got Penn State, Michigan State. You've got UCLA. 4 teams in the Big Ten, I'm pretty sure. In the Big 12, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State, Utah, all having first-year head coaches. Then in the SEC, Arkansas, Florida, Auburn, Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss. That might be it there. So just so many changes. And then Washington State is a new coach. Oregon State is a new coach. Memphis has a new coach. Tulane, South Florida, they all have to have resets because all their group of 5 coaches leave to get Power 4 jobs. James Madison is going to have a new coach. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. But yeah, so Brent Pry and Deshaun Foster started this crazy coaching carousel, right? They got fired after their teams both started out 0-3. UCLA hired Bob Chesney from James Madison. That's a solid hire, and I think it was the right move to fire Deshaun Foster. Brent Pry got fired. I think that was the right move, and then they did the great hire of hiring James Franklin. That was the best or second best hire of the season. He didn't have a job because he just got fired at Penn State. Arkansas fired Sam Pittman. That was the right move. It was never a good hire. I heard that he was just like an O-line coach at Georgia. Like, that was it. You don't just hire an offensive line coach to be your head coach. That's not a smart move. I mean, that is just not a smart move. They replaced him with Ryan Silverfield. A lot of people are like, he's not that good. I think like CFP Bud said that like he improved after like a lot of the group of 5 schools like SMU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston all left. So yeah, and then I mean they started out like 7-0 this year, or like 6-0. They were like 7-1 Memphis, and then they just collapsed and finished 8-4. Well, no, they were 8-1. They lost 4 of their last 6. And they lost their last 3, and their last 4 counting bowl game. So I agree with that. Maybe that wasn't the best hire. And then later on, Penn State fires James Franklin. Never mind. Not understandable move in my opinion. To pay that much money to fire a great coach, that wasn't too understandable. Then we saw Florida fire Billy Napier. Very understandable firing. Very understandable. Florida was just lifeless. They were 2-4. It was the right move. Then LSU fires Brian Kelly. Crazy stuff there. A massive buyout. I think maybe bigger buyout than James Franklin. I kind of didn't agree with it at the time, but now that I'm hearing that he didn't really understand Louisiana football and all that stuff, I'm starting to agree with that firing. Or I agree with it now. And then Auburn fires Hugh Freeze, right move. That was a horrendous game versus Kentucky. They lost like 10-3 or something. Auburn was one of those teams that just couldn't beat good teams. I mean, granted, they got robbed of the Georgia win and the Oklahoma win. Or Oklahoma game would have only gotten into overtime. But, I mean, the SEC literally apologized for getting the call wrong. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, I think California fired their coach. I don't really know much about that. And then, of course, Michigan State fired Jonathan Smith. That was at the end of the year. That was the right move. He was not doing a good job. Here's a firing I forgot. Oklahoma State, after a horrendous loss to Tulsa, they decided it's the right move to let Mike Gundy go. I agreed with that. I mean, maybe they should have given him more time, but I overall probably agree with that move. And then, of course, Kentucky fired Mark Stoops after a frustrating blowout loss to Louisville. And then, of course, Michigan later on fired Tron Moore after he had an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. And then, I mean, some of the other stuff. I mean, Matt Campbell got poached away to Penn State. Chris Klieman retired. Kyle Whittingham stepped down from Utah and went to Michigan. So, I mean, yeah, so some weren't necessarily fired. Ole Miss needs a new coach. They got a new coach in Pete Golding, who was their defensive coordinator, because Lane Kiffin left to take the LSU job. Oh, yeah, so I forgot to mention Penn State, of course, fired James Franklin after... No, so I actually mentioned that. That was an absurd firing to pay that much money to fire a good coach. But, yeah, so... And then, so who did all those teams hire? Okay. Virginia Tech hired James Franklin. Great hire. I mean, James Franklin, that's the best or second best hire. Lane Kiffin might be a better hire. And I think Virginia Tech's like stealing all of Penn State's recruits, or they did. So that is absolutely great. I mean, Virginia Tech's going to be a great football team. I can see them competing in the ACC. Now, who knows if they can win the big games? But granted, are there many that good teams in the ACC? I mean, are there going to be that many huge games versus top 10 opponents? Not really. So that's going to help Virginia Tech cruise to the playoffs. But then, yeah, it's going to be kind of a struggle bus in the playoffs. But who knows? Maybe that was just his struggles at Penn State and not just overall as a coach. Maybe a lot of it was Penn State's fault. And then UCLA hired Bob Chesney. Most Group of 5 coaches don't make it. Now, the last James Madison coach to leave for an FBS job, or for a Power 4 job, or Power 5 at the time, was Curt Cignetti, okay? So they're telling me like, hey, the last James Madison coach to be successful was Curt Cignetti. He completely turned around Indiana. Maybe that can happen for us. I don't think so. Bob Chesney kind of took over a great team, and I think I heard people say that. So I don't think he definitely won't be as successful as Curt Cignetti, excuse me. But I think it's overall a really good hire, or a pretty good hire. Oklahoma State hiring, what's his name? North Texas's coach. That's who Oklahoma State hired. And they got North Texas's quarterback. I think they got North Texas' star wide receiver, and they had a great offense. So Oklahoma State, they might be able to have a great offense next season. A lot of people are seeing them as a sleeper to make the college football playoff. When he first got hired, I'm completely sorry I forgot his name, but I was like, why would you leave? Oklahoma State's just in a terrible spot. They're never going to be good. But it sounds like they landed some great players, and they got North Texas quarterback. It sounds like they might have a great offense next season. And people are saying that they're a sleeper, I think, for the playoffs. I don't think they'll be that good, but I'm actually becoming pretty high on them. Maybe his name will come to me. Excuse me. No, I was about to say Ryan Silverfield. That was Memphis' coach. And then, of course, Penn State, they poached Matt Campbell away from Iowa State. So now Iowa State's really not getting any recruits, I think, and Penn State's getting a lot. Iowa State's quarterback, Rocco Becht, transferred to Penn State. So that's going to be fun stuff. And, excuse me, but absolutely is Penn State now in a good spot. I mean, was firing James Franklin a dumb move? Yes. Was bringing in Matt Campbell a great hire? Absolutely. Does it kind of surprise me that he's gotten so many offers, Matt Campbell, and this is the offer that made him want to leave? That kind of surprised me because I thought they're kind of in a bad spot, Penn State. But I think Penn State will be good next year. I think the Matt Campbell hire was one of the best again, and it's going to be Matt Campbell's going to be successful there, excuse me. Then you had Florida hiring John Summerall from Tulane. Willie Fritz, first year, he was the former Tulane coach who left for the Houston job. He did good this season. That's actually a surprise team I forgot to mention. They went 10-3, 9-3 in the regular season and won their bowl game. So they were a surprising team with Connor Wegman. But a lot of people were saying this is a really good hire. My thing is, John Summerall, was he really ever that good? He took over a good Tulane team. Willie Fritz was the one who had to turn around Tulane. John Summerall, first year, only went 9-5. This past season, went 11-3, made the playoffs, but got blown out to Ole Miss twice. Got blown out to trash UTSA. I'm still a bit skeptic as Willie Fritz managed to beat USC. He managed to beat big dogs. So I don't know if John Summerall was really that successful. So I don't know. I mean, his dad did sadly pass away before their CFP game. But I still don't think they would have won that game. But I felt like he wasn't that good because he was taking over a great team. Willie Fritz did a lot better job. I'm a bit skeptic, especially him coaching in the SEC. But granted, Florida's going to have a lot of resources. But they did lose DJ Lagway. But most people are going to be like, yippee, I still have, again, belief in DJ Lagway. But, so yeah. And then, of course, LSU hired Lane Kiffin, the whole controversial thing of him leaving. It's going to be crazy when he goes back to Oxford next season. That is going to be an insanely fun game to watch. I mean, he got thrown stuff got thrown at him at the LSU game, and I feel like, I mean, when he went back to Tennessee, I'm a bit concerned for Lane Kiffin's safety. I hope because fans are really angry. I hope he can make it to Oxford and be safe. But, excuse me again, I mean, really, really great stuff going on for the, that was just a great hire, but granted, Brian Kelly seemed like a great hire, Oh my goodness, we got to take him away from Notre Dame, the insanely successful coach. It backfired very badly. Excuse me. But I don't think this one will backfire. And granted, Notre Dame fans kind of viewed Brian Kelly as a traitor, so you kind of hired a guy who now the other fan base is mad at. That's kind of what you just did with Lane Kiffin. But I think Lane Kiffin will be a lot better. He's going to do a great job, especially with Sam Levitt. So, yeah. And then, of course, Auburn, they got, what's his name? Alex Golish. It was originally rumored that Arkansas hired him. But nope, Auburn got him. That's a pretty good hire. Auburn, I think their backup quarterback transferred away. Jackson Arnold is clearly not the guy that Auburn's going to want. Jackson Arnold is not good. He's a he's not that good, and he's just been disappointing for a while, so it really makes you wonder. But absolutely, is Auburn, this is a solid hire. Pretty good hire. California, I don't even know who they hired. Stanford, of course, yeah, they had to hire a coach considering their coach did something bad at the beginning of the year, so Frank Reich was their interim for the entire season. I don't know who their coach is, so I'm not going to grade those ones. I think Stanford's coach is from, like, Hawaii. But, excuse me, we're now an hour in. But, or now we are. But, so, but yeah, my take is, well, excuse me, on this topic, excuse me, well, the thing is, I'm terrible, sorry, I'm blanking, but Michigan State, I think they hired, like, Pat Fitzgerald, Northwestern's former coach who got fired, I think because he did, like, a bad thing, excuse me, but that's a solid hire. Kentucky hired, well, no, Stanford, I think, hired Oregon's offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, like Tosh, or maybe his name is Josh. I'm sorry, I don't know what his name is. But, so they hired him, so that's a solid hire. And then, of course, Kentucky hired Will Stein, Oregon's offensive coordinator, so that's a good hire. Kansas State, when Chris Keelan. So yeah, Kentucky and Stanford both did good hires. Kentucky, I mean, Kansas State did a good hire. They had like Nathan Reed. He was Texas A&M's offensive coordinator. That's a solid hire. But his last play call at Texas A&M was the interception in the CFP. So that was kind of rough. But that's a pretty good hire. Michigan hired Kyle Whittingham. That's a really good hire. Iowa State hired Washington State's coach. I'm not sure I like that hire. I don't know who Oregon State hired to replace Jonathan Smith because Trent Bray was horrible. I don't know who Washington State hired, but Utah hired their defensive coordinator. I thought that was a good move. But yeah, so it was, just a crazy coaching carousel. The Heisman race, a lot of people thought it was one of the worst ones in recent, memory. And, I mean, Pavia was great. Okay, I'm a big Pavia fan. But again, it was really bad what he said about the Heisman voters and about Indiana. But yeah. And it makes a lot of people regret their Heisman pick and kind of taints his legacy. But still, I still really like Diego Pavia. Excuse me, but yeah. And then, Jeremiah Love had an exceptional season at Notre Dame, but apparently Notre Dame is recruiting very well, so there's a lot of hype around them. But yeah, Jeremiah Love, is, he was great. He was really, really, great. He had a great season. Julian Sayin was great. He finished fourth, only Sayin. Then Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman. I feel like the favorites for the awards always win it, so it was pretty clear Fernando Mendoza was going to win it. And, I'd say he might have deserved it, but I would have been okay if Pavia would have won it. But, it was, it was great. It was a great time, It was great, and what an exceptional, people said, Fernando Mendoza kind of wasn't deserving of the Heisman. I don't know. He definitely wasn't one of the greatest Heisman winners ever, but he was still a good Heisman winner. But, so the Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt incredible run. You talk about it, Pavia wasn't someone people looked at as great. He goes to Vanderbilt. Great season last season. Guys into a winning season, winning their bowl game, the incredible win over Alabama that I actually picked, but, so, things were good. Things were in a great start, a great spot for Vanderbilt. Clark Lee, just what a coach. He was a finalist for Coach of the Year. It ultimately went to Cincinnati. But absolutely phenomenal job. It's kind of unfortunate that this Vanderbilt turnaround story is kind of tainted by Indiana having an even better turnaround story. People can say all they want. They didn't beat the good teams. Lost to Texas, lost to Bama. It's not necessarily their fault that Missouri and LSU and Tennessee technically didn't age the best. That's not their fault. Pavia was great. I mean, that Kentucky game, he was great. It's not their fault the South Carolina game didn't age well. They didn't beat a single ranked team that finished ranked, but they beat 4 teams that were ranked at the time. So maybe look at that more. I mean, they absolutely destroyed Tennessee, the best of anyone. Considering Bama only beat Tennessee by 17, and they needed a freak pick 6 at the end of the half, and they were at home. They didn't have to go into Neyland. So 4 less points, they needed a freak pick 6, and they were at home. Georgia needed a missed walk-off field goal, and needed, I think, 1 or 2 overtimes. I think it was 2, but maybe there's only 1 to win, and that was in Neyland also, and they struggled, could barely win. They needed a missed walk-off. And then, I mean, what was the other team? It was, there's another team that went into Neyland, and they needed a close game, I remember. I can't remember exactly who it was. It was Oklahoma, and they only won by 6 points. They needed another close game. Vanderbilt won by 21. They beat Tennessee the best. And they didn't move up, I don't think, at all in the rankings. So that was really upsetting stuff. Just what a story. They beat 10th ranked LSU and someone an upset. Going to College Game Day was so fun. I absolutely love that. I've uploaded 2 shorts on that. Check them out. They already have a lot of views, but check them out. And then they beat Missouri. And they almost had that insane comeback against Texas. If they would have recovered the onside kick, I think that they would have won. Because they were down by 3, right? Yeah, so a field goal would have tied it, but they were on the move. I think that they might have scored a touchdown. I think that was very much in the cards. So close to winning that game. Makes me mad that they could not quite win it. But some more surprising teams I forgot was Arizona. I mean, they won 10 games. Very shocking. Because they had a shockingly disappointing year last season after Jedd Fisch left. So it was good to see them be successful. But I think Noah Fifita is going to be gone. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. So he's going to be gone. So that kind of stings. But let's look into the conference championship games that we saw. A new team won 3 of the 4 Power 4 conference championships. Okay. Well, the group of 5 ones a winning game of Tulane, and North Texas. Tulane kind of destroyed them. It was a great game by Tulane. Great performance by the Tulane Green Wave to send them to the playoffs, where they did get blown out by Ole Miss, but still absolute great stuff for them. And then, of course, of course, there were. I'm sorry. I should not be saying excuse me so much, but I need to stop doing that. But I mean, there was so much great stuff. But you saw, and then I mean, the conference championship games, Power 4. The Big 12 was kind of a blowout. I mean, Texas Tech just obliterated BYU again. In super convincing fashion. It was a great performance. Very, 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 very great. And they are a really good football team. In Texas Tech, just what a season. All 12 of their wins were by 20 or more points. That is absolutely insane. Excuse me. But, and then there was the SEC championship. Georgia just manhandled Alabama. Alabama struggled a lot. They honestly should not have made the college football playoff, but still. But then in the game of the century, second-ranked Indiana, first-ranked Ohio State for the Big Ten title. Ohio State missed an easy red zone field goal. They also got held to a field goal in the red zone, and they fell on 4th down in the red zone. So they were really bad in the red zone. Only scored points on 2 of the 4 times. Only scored a touchdown once. And that's what led to a loss, missing that chip shot field goal. They lost the game 13-10. That was really, 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 really bad stuff for the Buckeyes with the Hoosiers. Great thing. And then Duke looking to spoil Virginia's party, see the ACC champion not make the playoffs, potentially not an ACC team make the playoffs, even though Miami did make it, and technically Duke still could have made it, but it was highly unlikely, and they did not. But I think Virginia got like a clutch touchdown, but then Duke managed to win. They got a game-sealing pick, and Manny Diaz and Duke stunned everyone by winning an ACC championship in football. They did not win a basketball ACC championship. They won a football ACC championship, which was, super impressive stuff. And that was just crazy, spoiling the party. And now their quarterback, Darian Mensah, might be transferring or something. There's like a suing going on or something. I don't really know. But absolutely great conference championship games. Other than Georgia repeating, the other three did not repeat. Kennesaw State, what a great story they had. They were a surprising team after a struggling first year in the FBS. They managed to go 10-3 and win their conference, or they finished 10-4 because they lost in their bowl game, but still in a blowout, I'm pretty sure. But super impressive stuff. Super impressive stuff for them to be able to win the Conference USA. We saw a new MAC champion, but Boise State, final year in the Mountain West, three-peated. So their last 3 years in the Mountain West, they three-peat. The Pac-12 is going to be fun next season. You go from a Power 5 group of 5 to Power 4 group of 5 to Power 4 group of 6. So, yeah. But I miss the Pac-12 being a Power 5 conference, or to be one of the power conferences. But yeah, so Boise State and Georgia, I think, were the only repeats. I think we saw a new MAC champion, a new Sun Belt champion, James Madison, or maybe James Madison won it the year before. But yeah, and then James Madison made the playoffs thanks to Duke winning, and even though they didn't deserve to, and if this happened in this new playoff format, that would not be the case. But I kind of wish we moved up to a 16-team playoff. But yeah, then new MAC champion, of course, same Mountain West champion, but I'm pretty sure we had a new Conference USA champion and a new American Conference champion. It's no longer the American Athletic Conference, but yeah, because our Army was a disappointing team that barely even got a bowl game, but yeah, let's look into rivalry week, maybe a tiny bit. Rivalry so heated. How did these 2025 editions go of Rivalry Week? Well, the Buckeyes, of course, snapped that 4-game skid, versus Michigan. It had been like 1,200 days, I'm pretty sure, or maybe it was like 2,000 days, actually, I think, or maybe not, but considering there was a year that it got canceled for COVID, so then that was part of it too. But the Buckeyes finally got it back again, winning 27-9, only for that to be the last one of the season. But still, I was so happy about that. Oregon beat Washington, USC beat UCLA, Florida managed to beat Florida State again. I think NC State beat North Carolina. I'm actually going to dive into North Carolina a tiny bit. But yeah, and then Texas A&M lost to Texas again. There had been the long break. Now back-to-back years of losing. Frustrating end to Texas A&M season to go from 11-0 ranked third to losing to your rival. So then you miss out on a bye, an SEC championship, and then you lose round one. Such a frustrating end. Back-to-back kind of late season collapses. This one wasn't as bad though, but for Mike Elko and Texas A&M, and now they've lost their offensive coordinator. But Marcel Reed is returning, and so is Donnie Moore for Oregon. But yeah, and then I'm sorry, I'm kind of muttering and going too fast, but yeah, and then Indiana smoked Purdue, Iowa blew out Nebraska. I don't think Utah-Kansas is really a rivalry, but Utah beat Kansas. But looking at and then Ole Miss beat Mississippi State, but some actual rivalries that were earlier. Oregon beat Oregon State, Washington beat Washington State. Those were blowouts. BYU beat Utah in a frustrating moment for Utah. Those were some earlier ones. Ohio and Ohio State isn't really a rivalry, but Ohio State won that, of course. Michigan beat Michigan State, of course. So, yeah, we got some great rivalry games. Well, they were somewhat actually blowouts. Vanderbilt finally beat Tennessee. Auburn again at home, because they always get smoked when they go on the road to Alabama, and here they are. They just cannot. But even when they're at home, it's just heartbreaking losses now at this point. But Texas beat Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry, where John Mateer came back from his injury only to throw 3 picks and officially throw away Heisman. But yeah, that broken hand really cost John Mateer and Oklahoma. I mean, Missouri and Kansas rivalry got renewed, and Missouri won. Kansas State smoked Kansas in that rivalry. But yeah, a lot of the rivalries were blowouts, but they were fun games. But let's look into a bit of what happened in the transfer portal, and then we'll dive a little bit into what's going to happen next season. We saw Dylan Raiola transfer away from Nebraska. Let's first dive into North Carolina season. The hype. Oh my goodness gracious. We hired Bill Belichick. Chapel Bill era. There's like Chapel Bill shirts, I think, and stuff. We're 4-8. We didn't get a bowl game. We were an absolutely notoriously bad team. And you got smoked at TCU on MLK Day. I mean, not MLK Day. Labor Day. And it was just like, what are you doing, North Carolina? Like, really, what are you doing? What are you doing? And, I mean, it was bad. And if I'm Bill Belichick, I want to be gone. If I'm North Carolina, even if Bill Belichick doesn't want to be gone, I fire Bill Belichick. I think that they should mutually agree to part ways. They're not, but that's what I think they should do. In my opinion, I think that would be the right move to make, but that's not what they're doing at all. But is that what they should do? 1,000%. It was notoriously bad. And that's what Bill Belichick and Rob Gronkowski, I don't know, I'm confusing it with Mark Gronkowski, Iowa's former quarterback, or their quarterback, this year. But they didn't think Bill Belichick would be a successful coach. I kind of thought 8-4 might happen. I was kind of high on Bill Belichick, but no. I was high on Bill Belichick, but no. Or I wasn't super high, but I was pretty high on Bill Belichick. But no, that's not how it worked. Because, yeah, just because you're a successful coach on one league in the NFL doesn't mean you're going to be successful at college. Normally, you would think just because you're successful in college, you're not going to be good in the NFL. Like Nick Saban wasn't great, Urban Meyer was horrible, but Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll were both great on both levels. But Bill Belichick clearly is not meant to be a college coach. I think they'll give this another year, half a year even. Maybe he could get fired that early. But it was bad. It was bad. All things considered, it was just a rough season for the North Carolina Tar Heels. It was like all the hype. Just because a coach wins 6 Super Bowls in the NFL doesn't mean they're going to be able to win the national championships in college football. That doesn't mean that he's going to be a great college coach. And I think North Carolina's learned their lesson. And I think every team has learned, yeah, let's not do that. But some of the best games that we saw this season. Well, I already dove into a bit of the upsets. We already talked about the playoff games. But what were some great games? Well, Georgia and Alabama regular season. I mean, it's always a good game. Alabama snapped Georgia's streak. That was good. I didn't watch Duke Clemson, but that just seemed like a back and forth classic. Duke goes for 2, wins 46-45. To me, I didn't watch it, but looking at what happened, it seems like that was an absolute classic. Nebraska, Michigan, I think was a pretty good game. Tennessee, Georgia, didn't watch a lot of it, but that seems like that was just an epic game where the Vols just couldn't make a walk-off. Absolutely frustrating. Vanderbilt and Texas, I mean, the first 3 quarters were terrible, but the fourth quarter was entertaining. But yeah, there were just a lot of great games. Indiana, Penn State, already talked about that. Great game. Oregon, Iowa, great game. USC, Illinois, what a game. Illinois fumbles twice at the goal line, but still it's a walk-off field goal to win. Illinois, Indiana, just a game that does a 53-point game. Terrible game. Unless you're an Indiana fan, or if you're just weirdly a fan of blowouts, or you just love seeing points be scored, but, I mean, absolutely. There were a lot of great games. This was a wonderful college football season. It's sad to see it come to a close. We saw a Cinderella run by 10 seed Miami to be able to beat Texas A&M, Ohio State. I think they might have been favored over Ole Miss, but still, and then they nearly pull off the stunner over Indiana. I picked Miami, but my national championship game pick was unfortunately wrong. But yeah, some of the transfer portal stuff that happened. I mean, Dylan Raiola transferred. Well, let's actually look into Nebraska a bit. They were a disappointing team, and I think Matt Rule might be only getting one more year. They were like 5-1, kind of a playoff dark horse. You lose to Minnesota, you lose to USC, you lose to Penn State, and you lose to Iowa, and then even when there wasn't any Kyle Whittingham, you got smoked in the Las Vegas Bowl and finished 7-6. That's not what you gave that Rule an extension, so he would stay there. That is not why you gave that Rule an extension to go 7-6. Nebraska kind of fell apart once Penn State looked into Matt Rule and they gave him an extension. Once he got his extension, he was like, "Hey, I'm well paid. I'm fine. I can kind of fall apart now." But if next season is bad, we could be seeing Matt Rule, on his way out. It was bad, and now I had some hype for next season. Dylan Raiola going to be better. Nope, he transfers to Oregon, but Donnie Moore's not going pro. He's going to be staying behind. Dylan Raiola going to be the backup. Sam Levitt transferred away from Arizona State to LSU. He's going to be super successful in that Lane Kiffin offense. And even if it was Charlie Weiss's juniors, offense, he is going to be in LSU too. DJ Lagway. I know you guys are probably tired of me talking about DJ Lagway on this show. I just really, really, really like DJ Lagway. I am insanely high on that kid. I don't know why I'm calling him a kid. He's older than me, but I'm not sure I like him going to Baylor. I think Davon Aranda should have been fired. The AD stepping down made sure Davon Aranda kept his job. So that concerns me a bit, but I think Baylor can be a dark horse to win the Big 12. But I mean, absolutely, is that a good move? Rocco Becht, but great pickup by Baylor. Rocco Becht going to Penn State with Matt Campbell. That's going to be great. Drew Mestemaker, former walk-on, leaving North Texas to go with his coach. Still can't remember his name, but in Oklahoma State's going to be a dark horse. A lot of great transfers. I think Iowa gained someone from Ohio State or something. I only really followed the quarterback transfers. But yeah, absolutely crazy transfer portal. But it's going to be great, But a little bit of a preview into this next season, 2026-2027 season. I wish it was a 16-team playoff, but it's going to stick at 12. That's not terrible, I guess. But, of course, I'll be doing my ranking show in about August. Well, let's also kind of look back at some of my Cinderellas, or who I kind of felt as dark horses. I said Vanderbilt would be a dark horse to make the college football playoff. Nearly right on that. They nearly made the college football playoff. And I don't think I've ever picked against Vanderbilt in a game that they won. I don't think I ever have said, I'm picking against Vanderbilt, and then Vanderbilt won. I think I picked against Vanderbilt twice, when they lost to Texas last season. Not this season, but last season. And then when they lost to Iowa. But that was kind of accidental, considering I kind of was thinking I was going to do a fake count, then I was like, oh, it's too late. But yeah, and then Kansas, I said, was a dark horse. I am just such a massive Jalen Daniels believer. I was insanely disappointed in those Kansas Jayhawks. I like Kansas. I like Jalen Daniels. Back-to-back years of going 5-7. I kind of felt like, Kansas is in a good spot. And Jalen Daniels, the last game was bad, and he ended bad, but he was putting up great numbers at the beginning of the year. He just kind of went downhill from there. And then, I don't know if I said this, but I think I kind of thought Iowa, they came in with 9 straight losses against top 25 opponents. It went down to 13, but they were so close. Iowa, they were so close. Iowa was one of those teams where they were just so close. So close to going to the they were just so close, okay? And I think we can kind of all agree on that. They were so close to going to the playoffs. If they could have just won 2 of those games. They were 4 plays away from making the playoffs. I like Kirk Ferentz, but seeing Cignetti win the Natty is kind of maybe you should fire Kirk Ferentz. I don't think they'll ever fire him, and I'm fine with that. I really like Kirk Ferentz. He'll probably retire soon, though. Maybe one last season. But he said this team holds a special place in his heart. That's understandable, but they were so close. An inch away from having a catch on 4th down to maybe beat USC. So close. If that player doesn't slip in that rainy game, the Oregon game goes into overtime. They were so close. They nearly beat Indiana, nearly beat USC, nearly beat Oregon, and nearly beat Iowa State. But then they finally put it all together. I don't care if there was no Eli Stowers. They managed to beat Vanderbilt, which is impressive, And Mark Gronowski wasn't a great quarterback. And Iowa, they're not going out for a transfer quarterback, which kind of makes me mad. But yeah, so looking at next season, who could be some dark horses? Way too early talk. I don't know. Personally, I think Arch Manning and Donnie Moore are 2 way too early Heisman contenders. But I don't know. Oklahoma State could be a surprising season. With Jared Curtis, I don't know if he's playing or not, but if he plays for Vanderbilt, they could be a dark horse. I think Iowa could be a dark horse to make the playoffs. I don't really believe in Kansas anymore with Jalen Daniels being gone. I believe so much in DJ Lagway. I think Florida can be a dark horse. I think South Carolina can be a dark horse, given I think Sellers will be good. Illinois, I don't know. Losing Luke Altmaier stinks. But such a great season. Such a great season of football that we got. So, just so great. But the answer to the trivia question, the category was team history, which former Jaguar starting quarterback served as Patrick Mahomes' backup on the Chiefs in 2023? Is it A, Nick Foles, B, Blaine Gabbert, C, Colin Kaepernick, D, Matthew Stafford, or E, Tom Brady? It's kind of an easy question. But the answer is, remember, put your answer in the comments. But the answer to today's trivia question is B. Blaine Gabbert filled that role in 2023, starting 1 game for Kansas City and earning himself a Super Bowl ring. He had previously won a championship backing up Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. So he's won 2 Super Bowls, just as a backup. But, again, great college football season. Thank you for showing up and watching these videos. I hope you loved this season. What a great season. Disappointing teams, surprising teams. What a shocking season. Stunning. The Indiana Hoosiers have an incredible run. Great run. Fernando Mendoza, great quarterback. Cignetti, what a good coach. This might be the greatest national championship run I had ever seen. Just Florida, Penn State, South Carolina, Clemson, LSU, all such disappointing teams. We saw Lee Corso's final college game day show this year. We saw so many great moments. The craziest coaching carousel, maybe of all time. Hope you enjoyed the season. I'm sorry I've been late on it, but I'm going to be starting a college basketball pregame show for February, and I'll do it for March Madness. Probably not for the college basketball tournaments because I'll be on vacation during that time period, but it is going to be a great time. I'll start diving into the college basketball. We have a great Super Bowl matchup, Seahawks, Patriots. I'll dive into that later, probably next week. But yeah, I hope you loved this college football season as much as I did. Thank you for watching my episodes, but still watch, okay? I'll start talking about the NBA, the NFL still with the Super Bowl, college basketball. But yeah, tune in for the Saturday college basketball pregame show. Thank you so much for watching my college football show. See you in August to do my rankings preview. I might do a bit of off-season stuff, but one quick thing, I've forgotten to do this. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much. I mean, I really appreciate it. I've forgotten to thank you guys for helping me get 300 subscribers, 350 subscribers. Thank you so much. It helps the channel. Thank you for subscribing. My goal is to have 1,000 at the end of the year, but thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for helping me get 300 and 350 subscribers. So sorry I've been late on that. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this college football season as much as I did. Thank you for watching, and I will see you Saturday for my college basketball pregame show. We'll be doing a new college football show video, though, in August, or maybe some off-season stuff, but at least August for what I think the rankings should be. But yeah, see you for the college basketball pregame show on Saturday. Hope you enjoyed the college football show for this season. Bye now.